What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the You Tell Me Football podcast. My name is Anthony. I'm so glad that you're here. And with me today is the next generation football podcast host himself, Shauyan. This guy covers everything from international play to worldwide transfers. He previews the MLS. If it's about football, he covers it. So welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Dude, I'm doing amazing. Thank you so much for that intro. What a pleasure it is to be on your guys' channel, and I'm just happy to be here.
Totally. We're glad you're here. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us how you got into football. What made you start a YouTube channel? Give us the story.
So, do you want me to first talk about the channel, or should I talk? I think the right way to go is like how I got into it, and I guess it
Sure.
kind of transitions into it. So I
Yeah,
guess
perfect.
that would be the best way to go at it. So I live in the United States of America, obviously the most prosperous nation for football. It's
For
where
football.
where
Totally.
it's the biggest ad, where everybody watches it. And if you can't tell,
Mm.
I'm being absolutely sarcastic. And I got into it a little bit late in my life.
Mhm,
Obviously, if you guys don't know, I'm Iranian. My parents are Iranian, so
mhm,
it's a big thing. Football's a big sport in Iran, but
mhm.
they were never really into any sports growing up. For them, I think for
Gotcha.
most immigrants is to come to the US, be successful, go to school, and
Right.
just land a good job like Amazon, Microsoft, and things like that. But for them, they were never really much sports people. And I
Okay.
never really was either till I was like around 11, like 10, 11, 12. I
Mhm.
went to Germany because I have family there. And then I kind of got introduced to Chelsea. They ended up
Okay.
being the first kit that I got was the '08, '09 Chelsea kit. And then
Wow.
I started following them a little bit here and there
Mhm.
from FIFA through my friends because they were into the sport vaguely
Yep.
themselves. And then I watched the Champions League final. I was kind of watching their journey throughout that season, and my
Mhm.
goodness, that's kind of what that hooked me big time for sure
Totally.
into the game. And then I was like, if this is what football soccer is all about, I want
Yeah.
in on this drug. This
Totally.
seems so good. So I got
For
hooked to
sure.
them. Yeah, I got hooked to Chelsea from then on. They were the
Mhm.
first team I fell in love with. And then I watched my first ever Sounders game in 2012 against the LA Galaxy. And obviously, the LA
Wow.
Galaxy were like the most prominent MLS team at
Totally.
the time because of David Beckham, Landon
Yep.
Donovan, Robbie Keane. So playing against them was always the eye catcher for every MLS game. And so my local team, the Seattle Sounders, are playing against them. And
Mhm.
our greatest ever player, I don't care what anybody says, Freddie Montero bangs in a goal from like 35, 40 yards out. And then I just went nuts when that went in. And then that's also what led me into loving that club. And then I've been a season
Yeah.
ticket holder since 2013. So
That's
I've been
awesome.
loving supporting them. And then I've always been kind of this like footballing, not guru, you could say, but just someone who's always been in love with the game. And I just
Yeah.
love talking to people about it. And
Mhm.
then my first couple years of college hit. I think it was my second year at the
Mhm.
community college I was going to.
Yeah.
um, I got introduced one of my classmates because I don't do this. I'm not saying you guys should do it, but if you want to do it, you can. I'm not setting the right example, but in my classes, I wouldn't listen, in all honesty.
Oh,
I'd
man.
be watching like the Carabao Cup, the FA Cup, the Premier League.
Like, on your screen while
Yeah,
you're supposed to be listening?
exactly. So I wasn't paying attention in my class, and I was mainly just watching games during
Oh, man.
the class period. And people would
Uh-huh.
always notice that I'm doing that, but I would do it in classes that I just knew it didn't matter that much to me. Hey, I'm
Right.
not saying I wasn't doing it in all of them, but for the most part, I'd pay some attention when it came to my business calc class, things like
Sure.
that. But
Sure.
this one was like a public speaking class, giving
Okay.
out speeches and things like that. And I don't know if you guys can tell, it's something I'm fairly comfortable with for the most part.
Right.
So,
You were just doing research for whatever your next
yeah,
speech was.
exactly. And I was doing that. And one of my classmates, I didn't know this. I was somewhat shy. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm like
Mhm.
not necessarily always shy, but sometimes I am shy. And especially in
Mhm.
college, it's like this unknown territory I was in. And one of my
Mm.
classmates, I didn't know he was a Tottenham fan. He comes up to me. His name was Jacob, and he was like, we got to know each other. And then
Yeah.
one day, he just messages me on Snapchat. And he's like, "We should start a pod. I mean, I'm gonna plan on starting a podcast. I want you to be the co-host of it." And I was like, "Okay, cool. This sounds really good. But what's a podcast?" I didn't know what a podcast was, and
Oh,
so
man.
I know it's an absolute roller coaster. And then he introduced me to what podcasting is like, what you do
Mhm.
for and things like that. And then
Yeah.
basically from there, we started the Next Generation of Football podcast. At first, it was like I didn't put much thought into it, and I didn't
Sure.
put much, like, care into, you could say, because at first I thought this was just gonna be another thing that comes and goes, and then he
Yeah.
starts making the logo, we started rolling out name ideas, and then we came up with that, our and so then everyone just it rolls off everyone's tongue, Next Gen Pod, and that's what
Yeah.
mainly everyone references us by, and
Yeah.
we started off, and I actually enjoyed it quite a bit. A lot of my friends said, "Wow, Shauyan, this is, like, your calling, this is what you need to do," and we just start doing it after a couple of weeks, like
Mhm.
months, and then Jacob ends up passing the torch on to me. He ends up wanting to focus on school because he ended up going to
Gotcha.
a 4-year university.
Uh-huh.
And then I was like, okay, so you want me to take the mantle for it? And he's like, yeah, sure. I think this is what you should be doing. And I said, okay. And
Nice.
at first I was like super nervous. I was like, oh my God, what do I even do? And then I just kind of, I don't know, I just followed what my favorite YouTubers would do. I mean, one
Sure.
of my favorite ones when I was growing up was Jimmy Conrad, and now it's so weird how things go full circle. Now we're friends, so it's
That's
just
crazy.
yeah, I know. So I just learned the keys to networking, meeting
Yeah.
people, bringing people on, and just growing the page as time went on. And
Right.
now, next thing you know, now we're here, and that's
That
basically history, and it's
that's
continuing
sweet.
now.
That's so fun. It's cool because just looking over some of the different things you've done on your channel, we'll get into some of these as well.
Sure.
It seems like, yeah, you cover a lot of different things, which is awesome. Some of it being, MLS, which for our fan base, most people don't know a lot about the MLS. I'll be honest, I don't even know a lot about the MLS. I live in
Okay.
the States. I'm a big, obviously, Detroit City FC fan. They are in the NISA League, which is like third tier. So, so give us a little bit of the atmosphere of what the Sounders is like. You've been a season ticket holder for a couple years now. What is it like going to a Sounders game?
So I know a lot of people, especially it's like very hip these days to be part of the supporter section, things like that. Our supporter section is the ECS, the Emerald City supporters. Obviously, there's
Hmm.
Gorilla FC as well. There's a lot of like mini supporter groups. It's like an onion. You unravel it.
Sure.
There's mini
There's
supporter
more.
groups into the big one. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was actually never into being a part of the supporters group and things like
Sure.
that. Obviously, I loved being like, I want to be the number one Sounders fan, but
Right.
I was just never into being into the supporters group. And
Sure.
when I first went to my first ever game, which again, actually, my first ever game for the Sounders was in 2012 against the Galaxy. So the first ever game I watched was against the Galaxy. The first ever
Right.
game I went to was against the Galaxy. But
Crazy.
MLS games, once I truly understanded what it was like to be a fan and then go
Yeah.
to away days to
Yep.
I've been to Portland many times. I
Oh,
recently
totally.
was in Austin for a game against the Sounders. But going to a Sounders game, it's just you get to connect with people on a whole different level. And I know
Hmm.
people say like, "Oh, it's the MLS. It's so overrated," and things like that. And I was like, "No, I think you should support your MLS team. Doesn't matter if it's the
Yeah.
Chicago Fire, Vancouver Whitecaps, you're bottom of
Yeah.
the table. It's something different to go day in,
Hmm.
day out to home games, even broaden your horizons and go away to
Yeah.
an away game. Yeah, it's kind of scary, but you just relish in the moment because if your team wins, you're on
Right.
top of the world. You own that stadium. It's now
Totally.
yours. And I think it's just it's one of the best decisions I ever made was becoming a season ticket holder. And
Yeah.
I know I didn't really get to talk about the atmospheres because I've never really been a part of it. I just go, I watch the game, and I go
Right.
home. That's it.
Sure.
I don't do anything
But
special
you're there
for it.
for the sport. But that's, I
Yeah.
mean, that's what it's about. Now, you did have you had a video that talked about when you went to the finals against Toronto. I can't remember what year it was
In
in Toronto,
in
right?
2016, yeah.
2016. So yeah, this was like the way you just talked about going to away days and owning that stadium. I could see you enjoying that moment of just having that victory, penalties, right? I mean, it's
Oh
just
god.
such an intense atmosphere. You were mentioning how the opposing fans were kind of like giving you guys crap or whatever. Like, tell us what that was like going to that game.
So the 2016 MLS Cup final, it was one of the best decisions hands down ever made in my life. I was in high
Yeah.
school at the time. I was 16, and
Mhm.
this was the first ever time the Seattle Sounders were in an MLS Cup final, and it was
Mhm.
in Toronto. We were going into the season as absolute underdogs because we had such a terrible, terrible start to the season, and it was so astonishing to me. I mean, I remember we were getting letters in the mail from the Sounders apologizing for how bad the season was going for us.
Wow.
I know.
For real.
Yeah, I know. I
Letters
was
in
like,
the mail, like, what did those even say?
it's just on
Like,
behalf.
"Sorry, we're so terrible?"
I probably still have the letter
Oh my
somewhere in a
gosh.
box. It was like
That's
on
awesome.
behalf of the Sounders organization, like we'll do better, and this is not what this
Wow.
franchise was built on to be so bad. Because we were like, if this was the Premier League, easy, heavy, heavy relegation
Oh,
candidates. It was
totally.
so bad. And going then all the way to the MLS Cup final. And that
Yep.
was, I think to this day, still is the fifth coldest game in MLS history.
Wow.
There's a river on Ontario right next
Okay.
to the stadium, and it was at
Okay.
night. It was already the winter. So it's freezing. But going there, I went with my dad. He's my
Yeah.
partner in crime for most
Nice.
away games. And from all pretty much all Sounders games,
Yeah.
he's slowly getting into the sport more and more. Obviously doesn't know
Nice.
people by names and the terminology
Sure.
quite well, but you know what? He's still my number one partner in crime for a
That's
lot of these
right.
things. And going to that final, I mean, he was with me. He said, I'm just gonna go to the seats because he just was not really feeling going through the stadium, just hearing what people had to say.
Sure,
I was
sure.
touring the stadium. Toronto fans were, and I was still a kid then. I want everyone to keep that in mind. I was a kid.
Yeah,
And
right.
so going around there, they were cussing at me. Sometimes I didn't even understand the slander that was being said to me. And so no, and then to go to my seats, I wasn't sitting remotely close because obviously getting allocated tickets to that game was so
Yeah, sure.
difficult. And it was terrifying because we didn't have a shot on target the whole
Wow.
120 minutes. And
Wow.
and then it went to penalties, and then Brad Evans stepped up, and he is Mr. I think 12 for 12 or 13 for 13, never missed a penalty in his whole career. And I
Yeah.
was fortunate enough to ask him about what was his secret behind it. And he told me he missed a penalty when he was in high school in a final, and he just never wanted to miss a penalty ever again. So
Wow.
when he stepped up first, I knew we were winning that shootout. And then the rest was history. And I'm
Crazy.
so fortunate that I've been able to go to both the finals that we've won. We've been to 4 MLS Cup finals,
Yeah.
both of them that I went to, which was one in Seattle, one in Toronto. They were both against Toronto. We won it. So maybe I'm the
Crazy.
good luck charm. I don't know.
Hey, totally. Of course. Next gen. That's it. That's so awesome. And it's so actually, the more I think about it, when I hear like they were sending letters and stuff like that, that's actually a really cool thing that they did as an organization, because when you're watching them, and especially, with the MLS, there does it does get like a bad rap about no relegation, right? So it's like, if you're
Yeah.
bad, it's just no big deal. Nobody really cares. But it sounds like the organization itself really does care. They're reaching out to you guys and apologizing. That's good on them for doing that.
That's why they're the best team in MLS. Just if you
Yeah.
guys want to support a team in MLS, you should support the Sounders.
Totally, totally. I love it. So yeah, so speaking of the Sounders, I think they have a match this coming Tuesday. It's
We
a
play in
Leagues Cup.
the League's Cup, the
Yeah, what is
newest
that?
thing.
Explain that.
Thing is, I was gonna ask you to explain if you knew more about it than I do. But
Okay, I know a little bit.
okay, let's hear what
It's
you have, and I'll piggyback whatever you have not filled in as they
okay.
don't know.
I believe the Leagues Cup is the best teams from, or yeah, it's like the best teams from the MLS and Mexico. Right. So from their respective professional top tier leagues,
Yeah,
they come together. It's not necessarily like the Champions League of North America,
because we
but
actually have the
right. But it's like another one. Apparently, even the players union was kind of like, what is this? Kind of just like an extra cash grab for some more games on the schedule. But they've added a couple more teams. The team you guys are playing, I think, is UNL
Tigres.
Tigres. Yeah.
Yeah.
They were runners up the initial year, 2019. Then it got canceled 2020. So it seems like it's a chance for some silverware for you guys.
And there's actually a little bit of history between the Sounders and Tigres,
Oh,
where we
really?
played them in 2013 in the CONCACAF Champions League.
Oh, wow. And
We
how'd it go?
so we lost leg one, 1-0
Okay.
in Mexico. Then they go up 1-0. This is the second leg now in
Yep.
Seattle. They go up 1-0, and I thought, okay, this is a game over. We're not going to win. I
Yeah.
remember I was there. This is literally my exact thoughts behind it. And again, note to self, I'm like 14 years old. So my
Yeah, right.
knowledge of the game wasn't quite as, I'd like to
Sure.
say, as good as now. And then DeAndre Yedlin,
Mhm.
young DeAndre Yedlin,
Yep.
scores his first ever goal for the Sounders. The ball
Wow.
just pings to him, top of the 18. He full volleys. It goes. And I was like, hey, you know what? Good for the kid. He scored. We still aren't going to win this. Then the arguably the worst ever player to win the Champions League, Jimmy Traore, scores the best goal you'll ever see in your life, a volley from 30 yards out.
Oh my
And then it's
gosh.
2-2. And I'm like, wow, if we score one more, we're actually going to win this. And then Eddie Johnson scores and the whole stadium erupts. And
Oh, I
this is, I
bet.
think, to this day, the farthest the Sounders have ever gone in the CONCACAF Champions League was that year, going all the way
Wow.
to the semifinals. And
Uh-huh.
yes, we have history against Tigres. In my opinion about this League Cup, it is such a cash and grab, like you said,
Yeah.
for MLS, because there's this weird like butting heads from MLS fans. I don't see this, and I don't really understand it.
Yeah.
Between MLS fans and Liga MX fans, especially, it kind of stems from the USA-Mexico rivalry. They're like, oh,
Sure.
Liga MX is better than MLS. MLS is better than Liga MX. So then MLS was like, oh, they really threw like all the toppings they can on the ice cream for this. You know, that Liga MX MLS All-Stars, which I'm not a fan of at all.
Sure.
I loved how the MLS All-Star game worked before.
Yeah.
And now this Leagues Cup. And then there's also the Champions Cup, where it's the MLS winners against the Liga MX winners. Like, just pick one. And we have the CONCACAF Champions League. So it's like we have so many competitions. And I'm hoping, I know this is not what Sounders fans maybe want to hear. I hope we kind of throw this game and don't play our best players, because this weekend we play against the Portland Timbers, and it's more of an important game because the Sounders have been on a bit of a slump with their recent performances.
Gotcha. Yeah, I wondered about that because, it does seem like, there does seem to be a lot of competition, but it's also what's the word, like fabricated, like
Yes.
like like they're really trying to make it angrier than it really is, and I don't really know. I don't know. It just seems like if people want to have a rivalry, it'll be there. You know what I mean?
They definitely, they're definitely trying to put the toys in the box for everybody to go grab. And I think also another part of it for the MLS Commission is because when those CONCACAF Champions League games happen, or even friendlies between Mexican teams that happen in the United States, I only can say on behalf of when I've gone to Sounders games or those friendlies at CenturyLink, or now it's called Lumen Field.
Yeah.
There's loads of fans and people that go to those games that are not normal MLS fans. Like, they wouldn't go if it was just the Sounders against the Houston Dynamo or something. They're there to see those teams play. So it's also money for the MLS teams to advertise for people to go to MLS games. They're like showing like, hey, just like how great your Liga MX games are, the MLS games are just as good, which I don't really, again, don't like that at all. But again, that's just my opinion. People probably see it differently.
Yep. No, that's cool. So I want to go to a series that you did where you talk to people on Omegle. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes,
all right.
I know what you're talking about.
Okay, so I found this on your channel. Dude, how many people said Cristiano Ronaldo? Was there a tally? Because
I did not.
It was way more than I expected.
The inside behind the Me on Omegle series is I found that off of a TikTok where a guy would ask people basketball questions. I was like, oh, why wouldn't I do this for soccer? It's so easy. No one else has done it. And the easiest one I thought to gel it in and see what people thought was like, who's better, Messi or Ronaldo?
Yeah.
And most people would say Cristiano Ronaldo almost every single time. And they're like 2-3 minute videos, but it's an hour of recording. It's so much recording.
I bet.
Because there's so many just terrible answers.
Oh, well, that's what so I have like some notes on here. Like, I'm sure you loved that, but I'm sure it was also extremely hard to get content for.
No, it is extremely one. It's like I'm losing brain cells constantly clicking the skip button and just being there. I'm losing myself a little bit, and then just editing it, rewatching it, and just being like, wow, that was just horrible experience.
Right. But, it's like almost if you're not doing it live, which I wouldn't probably suggest. I'm sure you got some like chaos on there.
Oh, it's bad.
Yeah, exactly. So, but like but because you have to go back through and edit it, it's like, oh gosh, finding the right people and all that stuff. But yeah, the number of people that said Christian Ronaldo instead of Cristiano Ronaldo was insane. Showing the picture of Christian Pulisic, by the way, not Cristiano
Yeah.
Pulisic. Most people didn't know who he was. And we had just did an interview a couple weeks ago with a channel called The Footy 5. And I was talking to them and saying, I bet more people do not know who he is than do know who he is in the United States. Like people just have no idea who Pulisic is.
And I feel like
And
it's even worse if it was Landon Donovan or Dempsey too.
oh, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Like he is for sure like the most well-known American soccer player, I think, at the moment.
Yeah.
But your response when you would say, I have no idea either, and be just like so disappointed, was like the best. It was just so clever. Like, just like, oh, I don't know who he is either. Like being like so distressed.
I know. And then when people say, is that you? And I was like, wow, that's like big praise when people said that to me. There was a lot of people that said, I kid you not.
Really?
A lot of people, said, is that you? And I was like, I don't even look remotely like Christian Pulisic. I mean, maybe when he grew out his beard, our beard games were similar, but
sure.
Outside of that, like, it makes me think, because there's an old YouTube video. I don't know if you've ever seen it. I think it was the YouTube channel is called Whatever. The guy, everyone always used to comment on his video saying, you look like Robert Lewandowski. So he went around with the Lewandowski kit, the jersey, and he just say, picking up girls, saying, I'm Robert Lewandowski.
Oh my God.
And then I was sharing that video around my friends because it recently came up again on my feed. And I was like, wow, I should go around wearing my Ali Reza Jahanbakhsh jersey and just start saying I'm Ali Reza Jahanbakhsh, because so many people said I look like him as well.
Dude,
so I need to start doing that.
That was, I mean, I'm sure you're questioning whether or not you want to do season 2 of that or whatever it is. But I just want to let you know, however many hours it was, there was at least one of us out here that really enjoyed that series. And yeah, I'm sure there's lots of different things you could talk to people about because it's so unknown. You could probably, just mess with people a little bit.
Oh, 100%. I know. I appreciate you saying that. And so many people have messaged me saying they love the series a lot. Like it's just, with our page,
it's almost better for TikTok maybe instead of because it's shorter.
Yeah, that, and also it's just something to get away from the normal content, like the seriousness, and that's fine. Like to see more of like my goofy side, even though I still try to bring that on to when I do podcasts and I talk to people. It brings out the goofy side and just something more. It's soccer related, but it's something more leisure that people can watch. And season 2 is in the works. It is in the works. Yes.
Nice.
We're working on a new overlay and things like that, and how we want to style it. It's just a matter of, we haven't narrowed down what our first question will be. That we'll be asking people on the series. We have an idea, but we haven't decided if we want to go with it for the first episode.
Well, let's put it to the people. If you're watching this and you've got an awesome question that you think any public person should be able to answer, or you think would get a funny answer, make sure you put that in the comments and let them know. All right, cool. So I want to also talk about Chelsea. You are a Chelsea fan. I can see it in the background. I am a Spurs fan.
Oh, nice.
Sadly, sometimes very sadly. But I want to talk about this last season, looking into this season. You guys, to have fired Lampard, right? To have sacked Lampard mid-season, and then to end the season the way that you did. Did you expect that? Were you down for? Did you think Lampard should have had the rest of the season to kind of right the ship, or were you ready to see him off?
Last season was a lot of mixed emotions for me as a Chelsea fan, and I will always be envious of Tottenham, Arsenal, somewhat Manchester United, not really though, is that we have never had any stability in the managerial position. And there's so many coaches we've had that I've actually loved. Roberto Di Matteo is the first one that I fell in love with. And when we sacked him, I was like, what? Like, I was a kid, man.
Right.
That's like a first heartbreak right there. And then there was Antonio Conte, who pins and needles, putting pegs into shoehorns, whatever the saying is, making that team win the Premier League from 10th place. Then he finishes 5th, wins an FA Cup, then gets sacked and gets treated how he does. I understand there was comments that were made and all that, but can you blame the guy? He's trying to do a job and win titles for us. And he's proven to himself. with the
Totally.
minimal amount of money that he can do it with this club. And again, showed it with Inter and then leaves
Right.
on a high, in all honesty. But with Frank
Right.
Lampard, I had no emotional connections in regards to I never watched Frank
Mhm.
when he was like at his absolute peak.
Sure.
I saw
Right.
Frank at his tail end of his
Yep.
career, and I understand he is the greatest ever Chelsea player. Some people would say John Terry, but for me, it'll always be Frank Lampard because he was the captain in
Mhm.
that night in Munich, and that's something. Unfortunately, John didn't play. I mean, he went full
Yeah.
kit wanker, what most people would say, and he celebrated like he was. But I mean, he was an integral part, but he wasn't the captain at the end of the
Right.
day. And when Frank last season, I thought played so well
Mhm.
in the Premier League and in the Champions League. I think Chelsea were just extremely unlucky to draw Bayern. But the thing was,
Mhm.
Chelsea could have beaten Bayern. I still believe it. People would say, no, you definitely couldn't have. I say, yes, we could have.
Hmm.
Because if the first leg didn't end 5-0, 3-0, I mean, basically it was like 7-1 in the end. But
Yeah,
if,
right.
if the first leg never ended 3-0, even 2-0 or
Mhm.
2-1, still if they lost, but 1-0, and then with the lockdown and then
Mhm.
restarting again, it was a whole different ball game at that point.
Totally. Yep.
And if they just kept themselves in the game, they could have done it. Then we go into the following season. I was like, okay, I think we can win the Champions League. That's
Yeah.
all I thought about. It's the only
Mm.
I know this is a very sellout thing to say, but I've even said on my channel, I don't care much about the Premier League. I know, like, as a
Mm.
Tottenham fan, you're probably like, what is this guy saying? He's talking full of shit. But I don't care much about the Premier League. I
Mm.
solely love the Champions League. I
Mm.
love watching Champions League midweek.
Yeah.
I live for it.
Yeah, yeah.
And going into the season, I said, we're winning the Champions League this season. And we have
Wow.
a favorable group. We play so
Mhm.
well throughout the group stages. And Frank has shown that he can do it in cup competitions. Like he coached very well in the FA Cup
Mhm.
and he coached very well, I think, throughout somewhat of the group stage matches in the
Mhm.
Champions League. I was like, we can do this. Frank could
Mhm.
definitely G us up for one or two because the Champions League's almost like you just need to hit form for
Right.
certain games because there's such
Right.
a big gap with the Premier League. There has to be consistency.
Totally.
And when he got sacked, my only issue was not because he was a club legend, because we're not viewing him in that position. We're viewing him as a
Mhm.
manager.
Yeah.
Only reason that I didn't want him sacked was because I'm so sick and tired of the chopping and changing. Because I thought when Frank was appointed, the goal here was there's going to be longevity and continuity
Mm.
within the managerial position.
Yeah.
Then there wasn't. And in
Yep.
very Chelsea fashion, Tuchel comes in, wins the Champions
Yeah,
League,
right.
done. And like obviously I'm really happy about it. And I think one thing that's great about Thomas Tuchel is he's actually a coach, unlike
Yeah.
Frank. I know it's
Yeah.
really hard to say that, but
Yeah,
the
sure.
truth is Tuchel's a manager. And the thing that he did was he kept us in every single game. Yes,
Yeah.
sometimes maybe it was boring because it was a bit more defensive, but every single game he
Yep.
played in leg one was to
Mhm.
keep ourselves in the game for leg two.
Yep.
And that's what you need to do in the Champions League.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was, fitting because he was let go from PSG, right? And then he goes with you guys and he's like, sure, I'll win the Champions League. No big deal. I think that's a testament to his managerial ability by far. And yes, as a Tottenham fan, I'm like, the league matters to us, dude. We gotta, the league has to matter to us, especially with all the chaos that we've had this summer. So rumors are here we go. Romelu Lukaku, Fabrizio Romano is saying it's gonna happen. How do you feel about him coming back to Chelsea?
You know, it's very mixed feelings because
Yeah.
this is probably one of my, again, biggest pet peeves with the managerial situations that have
Hmm.
happened with Chelsea since I've been growing up watching them.
Yeah.
Is the lack of opportunities youngsters and academy players have had at
Sure.
Chelsea, and I'm so sick and tired of Chelsea splashing the money on players that we don't need, and that was what I was really fond
Mm.
of with Lampard's season was
Yeah.
we played every single loanee.
Yep.
Everyone got a chance, and I was like, "This is great," and everyone got
Yep.
great resale value who realistically did not have a chance back
Sure.
into the team, and then we got to see the best out of Reece James, who's now like, if let's say if we were to buy Reece James out of the market, if he
Oh
was at a
yeah.
Premier League team, like let's say similarly to what happened with Kieran Trippier in today's
Hmm.
market, he's like a 40 million pound player,
Oh yeah.
easy.
Yep.
And he was someone you didn't pay a penny for, and he cares so
Mm.
much about the club. He bleeds Chelsea blue.
Yeah.
And with Romelu Lukaku, he was here at Chelsea. That's my
Right.
biggest pet peeve. He was here at Chelsea. I was actually fortunate enough to see him score his first ever Chelsea goals.
Oh
The
really?
Sounders played Chelsea back in 2013, and
Crazy.
Romelu Lukaku shredded Chelsea's defense and scored
Wow.
2 goals that day. He misses that penalty in the Super Cup against Bayern. We sell him. At the time, they're like 25 mil. What great business. And in my head, I'm like, no, this is not good business because it's going to bite us in the butt again. And
Yeah, like
now we're
100
buying him
million worth.
back for 100 million. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, that's painful. But if I were to set those emotions aside,
Sure.
it is the signing Chelsea need. It's the only signing Chelsea need.
Mm.
If anyone thinks Chelsea need Koundé, Chelsea
Yeah.
need whoever, no, you just needed one striker is all you were missing within this team. And I think Chelsea, they're winning a trophy and a major trophy, either it be the Champions League or the Premier League. It's one of the two. They're winning it
Wow.
with the signing of Romelu Lukaku. And I think it's a done deal. I mean, every publication has said it's a
Yeah.
done deal. Drugba's even tweeted out about.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, if you need any more certification, that was
Yep.
given right there. And so, outside of that, the signing as a whole, Lukaku. I mean, he's top 3, 4 best strikers in the world right now. Well,
Yeah.
Lewandowski, I wouldn't count. Okay, sure, we'll throw Suarez in the hat, Harry Kane, and Benzema. He's easily 5th at the absolute worst.
Lowest.
And
yeah, I would agree with you. I think he's definitely up there in terms of one of the best strikers in the world. My question to you was, do you have any concerns about him coming back to the Prem though? Because, and this is just playing devil's advocate.
Okay.
He's only scored more than 20 goals once, and that was his last season at Everton before he went to Manchester United. Now, he killed it over there under Conte, which is a cool little double Chelsea, Antonio Conte, Romelu Lukaku.
Because he also wanted him in his second season at Chelsea, and then they ended up getting the B-Tech option, which was Morata.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Which anyway, Morata is just, I feel that is he didn't work out so well.
It was painful watching.
Yeah, very painful. But we have our own versions of that over at Spurs, so 100%. We won't get into that. But so anyway, that was my only question about Lukaku is you're paying so much money for a guy that's 28. He has only once scored more than 20 goals in the Prem. Granted, he's scored more than 20 in Italy twice, right? Both seasons. Is there any concern that he comes back and maybe he only gets 15? Is that okay? Is that worth the money that you spent for him?
Do you know who was Chelsea's leading goal scorer last season in the Premier League?
No, I don't.
He's not a striker.
Oh,
he never scored a single goal from open play. It was Jorginho.
Oh man, yeah, that's
So
you'll take 15.
This leads into you're kind of understanding the gist of this here.
Yeah, right.
Even if Lukaku only scores 15 goals, we need Lukaku. And again, I'm going to even play devil's advocate with exactly what you're saying to myself.
Yeah, sure.
The saying was Lukaku doesn't have a first touch and he doesn't score in big games. Chelsea don't need him to score in big games. They won almost every single big game without a main striker scoring day in, day out for them.
Gotcha.
They need Lukaku in the games like against Aston Villa, not to say that they're a bad team at all. And they might actually surprise everybody next season.
Right.
But they need Lukaku in the games against Aston Villa because Chelsea only got 1 point against Villa last season. They got 0 points against Arsenal last season. And this is the times you need Romelu Lukaku. Totally. And the other thing that he was criticized heavily was his first touch. Oh my goodness. It's such a myth. If we were talking about myths, it's a myth. He spent reportedly, again, don't always believe what you read on social media. Right. He apparently spent 3 months with Antonio Conte purely working on his first touch. And now, in my opinion, I mean, when you watch him play, he's a different player than when he was at United. I mean, he's talked about how his nutrition changed and he's so much more fitter, faster, more agile. His first touch is completely different. He can run at players and score with both feet. I don't think simple answer here is no. It doesn't matter if he scores 15 goals or if he scores 30 goals. I think he can do easily either or. And even with both, that puts Chelsea from thinking about it this way, just puts them as a Champions League winning team, puts them just this much better. Before.
Totally. Yeah, no, I don't think, I'm not going to say it's a bad signing by any means. I would take him if we're losing Harry Kane. It's like, that's the first name I'm thinking of, So, but it's just, I was thinking about that. Like, man, in terms of, I know you guys were in the hunt for Haaland as well.
Oh, everyone would have wanted him.
Well, yeah, everyone would. I mean, he's so young. He's so confident. He's huge. I mean, it's just like everything you'd want in a striker. I just wondered if there's any sort of pushback, but I think I'm hearing you loud and clear. And also, it's like, yeah, like you said, you're adding value to a team that has just won the Champions League. It's hard to deny that it's only going to help you guys for sure. So that is my next question, though. So you guys have some, people coming in. You got some players linked with exit. You've got Abraham was linked with an exit, Alonso, Barkley, and I even saw a rumor about Werner. I think
Really?
that's, yeah, I can't imagine that's a serious one. And I am not nearly as close to the Chelsea rumors as I am to the Tottenham rumors and all that
Of
stuff.
course.
But just, yeah, what are your thoughts on some of those players? Would you be okay with seeing them go? Who is maybe some dead wood that you guys are okay with seeing leave before the end of the window?
I think so. Like you literally just mentioned someone, which was Ross Barkley. He has to go.
Yeah.
But before I touch on the deadwood, with Tammy
Yeah.
Abraham, he's not deadwood. I assumed with Giroud leaving that Tammy was going to be given a spot. But there's
Mm-hmm.
a there's two sides to the Tammy Abraham saga at Chelsea. And
Mm-hmm.
there's people who view it as like Tammy's getting like somewhat greedy, and they're not incorrect with that because he wants to be the main guy at Chelsea, but he hasn't
Mm-hmm.
even necessarily proved it to a certain degree that
Sure.
he can be the main guy.
Sure.
Then there's people maybe that I'm leaning more towards. This is kind of the side I'm on. I think he
Mm-hmm.
deserves a chance at Chelsea. And if we didn't
Hmm.
sign Lukaku, I actually didn't mind that. But Tammy has a lot to work on in his game. I don't want to say a lot. There's certain things he needs to work on in his game. He
Mm-hmm.
falls down quite a bit. He's still like lanky, but not lanky in a good way. Because there's could be lanky in a good way,
Yeah.
like Peter Crouch, and
Yeah. Right.
he's still so mobile and still so good. But with
Yep.
Tammy, he's lanky kind of in a bad way. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think again, similarly to Lukaku, if we sell Tammy, I think we're gonna live to regret it 4 years down the line. That's what I'm worried about. I'm
Yeah.
getting
Right.
those flashbacks right there. And
Totally.
I think in regards to Deadwood, I think depending on if he sells Tammy
Mm-hmm.
Abraham, I think Michy Batshuayi could possibly be Deadwood, but it seems like
Mm-hmm.
Thomas Tuchel likes Batshuayi as a second-rate option, and Batshuayi, I think it's okay with it, unlike
Yeah.
Tammy, to be a
Sure.
second choice. Marcus Alonso could be possibly
Yeah.
someone that is kind of Deadwood, in my opinion, is Kepa. Ross Barkley's there. I'm just
Yeah.
trying to think on the top of my head who else is at Chelsea
Yeah.
that could be Deadwood.
And you guys got a lot of players.
Zappacosta. I'm trying to because you're thinking
Mm.
about a bunch of different eras at Chelsea, like with
Right.
Jose Mourinho, with Frank
Oh, totally.
Lampard, with
Right.
Antonio Conte. But anyone that would not be on the bench or starting, Marcus Alonso is a little tough because if Dujon Sterling becomes the backup, Marcus Alonso should go. And I wasn't really happy about his attitude against West Brom early on last season. I don't know if you ever read the report, but
Mm-mm.
it was when Chelsea were down 3-0, he got subbed off and just stormed off to the team bus.
Oh, wow.
And that was basically when he never played ever again for Chelsea. They ended up making the comeback for 3-3, but yeah, he never saw a day in with Frank. And then obviously Thomas Tuchel came in and then he saw the day of light again. But
Sure.
I wouldn't mind if Marcus Alonso gets sold. I think players that there is an academy player within that position that could be
Mhm.
playing that's younger and doesn't
Mhm.
cost any money. I think they deserve to play.
Sure.
And with Koundé, I'd rather have Zuma over Koundé, just in my opinion, though. But
Gotcha.
thing is, if that's what Thomas Tuchel wants, you kind of can't blame him because he won the
Yeah.
Champions League. So it's kind of
Right.
difficult to say.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I feel like that's one nice thing that you have going for you is you can trust your manager, right?
Yeah.
Like whatever he's deciding, it's like, well, he's won us a Champions League without that striker up top. It's hard to deny. So you mentioned, in terms of where do you see Chelsea next season? If you were to make a prediction, I know that the transfer window is not even closed yet,
Yeah.
all that stuff, and this is going to come out in a couple weeks, so it's a really early prediction for you. But where do you see Chelsea? I mean, I see them top 4, no questions asked. But where do you see them falling in the league? And then also you mentioned Champions League again. I know that's your favorite anyway. What other silverware do you think they're in and around?
Chelsea must, before Premier League, before Champions Leagues, must win. Thing is, well, this is coming out weeks later, but they must win the Super Cup on Wednesday because I'm so sick and tired of watching Chelsea lose in Super Cup finals. They've lost in every single one that I've watched this play in. Super Cup 2012-13, Radamel. This was prime Radamel Falcao. Scores a Hattie easy dub for Atletico Madrid. Then we play Bayern Munich that ended up being the treble-winning Bayern Munich, lose on penalties. That's when we saw Lukaku gone. We
Right.
then play Liverpool in one of the more recent Super Cups, lose on penalties, and then the Tammy Abraham situation happened. We must win against Villarreal. I'm not about to die and not see us win a Super Cup. That's the big thing for me. And then the next one is the Club World Cup. My goodness, how envious I am of Real Madrid every goddamn day rocking that Club World Cup patch on their jersey. And I'm like, I want that. I need that in my life.
That's it.
Those are the first two main trophies Chelsea need to win.
Okay.
If I were to give a prediction on where they're going to finish, I haven't put much thought into it. So this is going to be my
just shoot from the hip.
Shoot from the hip. Yeah, I think they're finishing second.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't think that's, I mean, shooting from the hip, honestly, I don't think that's a bad prediction. Manchester City to me are just, I mean, they just signed Grealish. They're still flirting with Harry Kane. Like if Harry Kane goes through, it's really hard. It's really hard to say like who else can
There's a funny meme with this whole thing because Grealish wins a lot of penalties and Manchester City miss a lot of penalties, and Harry Kane never misses penalties. This is like you're plugging in all the bad holes that Manchester City have right there. By spending $200 million, you can solve your penalty problems, everybody.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he's Pep Guardiola himself. I think the next player they sign, they'll cross the $1 billion mark.
Yeah,
which just goes to show you, just like, I mean, I don't know what financial fair play is supposed to do, but
I didn't even know it existed.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I don't think anyone knows it exists. Anyway, so yeah, all that to say, I think City they have to be the favorites still to win the league. But you guys are strong. And I feel like you've got depth in most areas. And you've got a manager that knows how to game manage. Like you said, he's playing, in the Champions League, he's playing to not lose the first game, right? It's like those types of things are the things you want for your manager. So I feel like you guys have a lot of things going for you. Second, like I said, I think you're a shoo-in for the top four. It's probably
I don't want to guys. I actually don't want to say shoo-in.
Really?
Oh God!
Why?
I don't do crazier stuff have happened in top.
Well, totally.
But
I mean, like, when you look at the competition, like, so, I mean, just think about who we're talking about. You've got Manchester City.
Okay.
You guys, Liverpool, United.
You wouldn't want to throw Leicester into the hat.
Dude, Leicester, other than the year they won the league, like they won the lottery, dude, they can't stay in the top four. They are bigger bottlers than us. They almost did
for the past 2 seasons, though.
They almost did for the past.
No, it literally came down to the final day. Like, we can't even say it's like a Spursy slip kind of situation. It was the last day.
Twice in a row. So I personally, I'm just saying, Brendan Rodgers, I don't know how he stomachs that twice. Do you know what I'm saying?
I don't know how Leicester City fans, they don't even care.
They don't care because that's what's so beautiful about Leicester. Like, I'm not trying to rag on Leicester because I actually think Leicester are run in such a way that every smaller club wishes they were run. Their ownership is loved by the fans. They come out of nowhere to win the league. They won the Community Shield. Just like they're
but they treat that Community Shield like it's something so big. The fans cared so much about it.
Exactly.
Not in an Arsenal way, like they brag about their Community Shield. Like they just care. Like they're so happy their club achieved such a big accomplishment. When most clubs wouldn't see it that way, but I think they should.
Oh, totally. No, I mean, yeah, I think so. I'm not trying to disrespect them. I'm just saying, like, I didn't think they were going to get Champions League even into the final day. I just think they're European. I mean, they're better than us. Don't get me wrong. We're down in the conference, bro. Okay, like we're playing for like I don't even know, the toilet bowl of the toilet
Oh.
bowls, right? Like it's just like so sad
But
that
it's gonna be super historic if you guys are the first ever conference league winners.
super historic. Yeah, right. It's well, I mean, we'll take it. Like I
Yeah.
will take any silverware. I was joking on one of my I made a TikTok and I said that our last trophy just had its bar mitzvah this year
Oh,
because
nice.
literally it's 13 years old. It's like it's just so long since we've seen trophies. Obviously, we had Jose Mourinho. He's a cup final winner. We
And
fire
he's
him
oh
6
my
days
it
before.
does my head in. I wanted to see
Yeah,
Tottenham win that day. I
dude.
really did.
Well, that's very kind of you. I appreciate that because we wanted to too. And instead we ended up with Ryan Mason, which God love him. He's a great guy. He's a Tottenham man. He's working with our youth academy still, but geez, it was just so hard
It was so hard to watch that fight because I just didn't know how Tottenham were gonna score that
right.
day.
No, none of us did. But anyway, all that to say, I think Leicester are they're they're a good team. They're on a better trajectory than us right now, but I just still think they're fifth or sixth. I don't think they're. When I think about them playing against even Man United or something like that, I just think, yeah, Man United every time. Um, I don't know. That's just how I feel.
For
And
me,
someone's gonna be mad about that, and I apologize to whoever's watching and you're a Leicester fan. I'm just being honest, anyway.
For me, I actually am scared of Villa, Everton, and Leicester. I think any of them can sneak into the top. I know people are gonna be like, "That's so
Yeah, dude.
bonkers to
Even West
say."
Ham,
That's what I'm
even West Ham was
I
kind of
wouldn't
like,
say West that, but this is why I'm inclined to say that because of West Ham's season last year. I think
yeah,
we're going to see a Burnley-esque when they were in the Europa League from West Ham,
yeah,
where there's going to be a bit of a fall up. Not to say they're going to get like significantly worse, but due to
sure, sure,
the Europa League run, it's going to do them a little bit sideways with the
right,
fatigue and because they don't really have that European caliber squad like with the
yeah,
depth. Like they have one squad, 2, 3 key subs. That's
yep,
pretty much all you can expect out of West Ham. But
yeah,
with Villa, Everton, with
yep,
Rafa Benitez, and Villa signings are so good. I take
yeah.
all three. I take Ings, Leon Bailey,
Hmm.
and I'm having a brain fart. Who's the
I
third
can't
guy?
remember who their third guy was. I can't remember, but
How,
they
how
I don't
have we
know.
both
I'm gonna
forgotten
look it
this?
up. I'm
It
looking
was
it up.
it was Danny
uh,
Ings, Leon Bailey, and they bought someone else.
let's see. Whatever.
No,
I'm
I'm
not
gonna
looking it
find
up
this
now.
out. I know. I need to know. I literally was just watching a video on this. I'll literally pull this up right now.
All right, sweet.
Okay.
Anyway, all that to
And
say.
Buendia. Oh my
Oh,
days.
there it is.
It's Buendia. Yes.
Oh,
Them making those three sign it
yeah.
scares me, man. That scares me so
Well, I
much.
thought I think it was their CEO came out and like did an actual video talking about Grealish leaving and all that stuff. Like again, just super classy to have someone come out, make that statement, say, "Look, we were not planning on selling this player. We had a release clause. We are selling this player, but we're bringing these three in, and we totally believe in them." I mean, that's again, where I mean, I don't know. Every team has a relationship to their ownership or their CEO or whatever, but at least as a Tottenham fan, we get so frustrated with Levy. You know what I mean?
But
It's
you got
just
that
like,
insight on it on Amazon Prime, you know. You got to
yeah,
connect with him on the TV level.
yeah, for sure. And I will say this: bringing in Paratici from Juventus is
Yeah.
already making us happier because we actually have more. We have signings before deadline day, which is
Yeah.
just beautiful.
And you guys got Romero as
Yes,
well. I thought that was a
yes.
really good signing.
Oh, totally. And it looks like we're supposed to get Martinez from Inter, but
Oh
with
yeah.
you guys signing Lukaku, that might actually kind of mess things up a little bit. Although it sounds like Inter is in pretty dire financial straits, so there's still some hope that we might be able to sign him. He would come in alongside Harry
It would
Kane.
be
That's the rumors today.
it would be very Spurs like
Oh,
for them to sell two of their big players, Hakimi and Lukaku, especially
right.
Lukaku being and then they're like, no, actually, we're totally good with our
Yeah, dude.
sales. We'll keep Lautaro
Yeah,
like on
exactly.
deadline day or something.
Yes.
No.
Yeah, dude. That's what it's like to be a Spurs fan. So, but yeah, anyway, I've been following them for years. I love them to death. I love the highs. I love the lows. It's what makes, I think, the romance of the beautiful game. It's like you were saying, it's like you still follow them even when it's like the worst of days, because
Yeah.
it makes those best days all the better. So, man, this was so fun. Thank you so much for doing this. What do you got coming up on your channel that you want to plug?
As of right now, we have a series that it might be out by the time this is out. It's going to be
Okay.
called the MLS Spotlight that
Oh,
we've been working
nice.
on for months.
Sweet.
And it is where we interview any MLS player
Uh-huh.
and we just talk to them. We do quick fire questions, which we've never done, about just like
Okay.
normal people things. Like, what would you
Nice.
prefer, Chick-fil-A or Popeyes? That's what
There
we're
you go.
genuinely asking players. And
Nice.
we just get to talk to them more. It's on a personal level. That's something we have
Yeah.
planned. Possibly season 2 of Omegle.
Nice.
Have my vlog that I still need to release from Austin, and then going to be for Portland. I am
Oh, yeah.
procrastinated very hard on that, but those are just a few things we have planned, and obviously usual podcasts.
Yep.
That's what we were originally are. So I got to
Right.
stick with what we were known
Yeah.
for and what we started with. So that's just going to
Totally.
be the usual stuff for the next couple of months.
Sweet. Well, thank you so much for your time. I super appreciate it. And if you've been watching, thank you so much for watching. As ever, it was great talking with you.